Unable to join over here. You want to use this one?
Oh, okay. I was able to join at my
Okay.
other desk, but the host hasn't joined.
David, Elizabeth's having a little trouble logging in. Give her one more minute.
Okay.
Everybody up there?
As long as we're in.
Just a few board members are here, Elizabeth.
Oh, good. As long as everybody else is in, I don't care, because I'm in over there at Debbie's desk.
Okay. We'll wait for trustees McHugh and Gluck. When's cocktail hour?
10 minutes.
Actually, it was 10 minutes ago, just between you and me. That was productive, that meeting.
I agree. Short and sweet, generally.
When does the budget process start? I don't have my memos in front of me. Anybody remember?
February.
I don't remember.
Okay, all right, we're all here. I would like to state for the record that we took
Elizabeth, you're here.
Okay, yeah.
Pardon?
I'm just calling Elizabeth. She's at the other desk.
Oh, okay. So I just want to make a statement for the record that we took an 1.05 recess, and we are now going to restart, re-enter. No, not re-enter, not restart. We're going to continue with our Board of Assessor meeting. And I believe we left off with accomplishing 2 out of however many extra ones that Trustee McHugh pointed out. And if that's the case, let's go to the 3rd, or I stand corrected.
Yeah, you stand correct. We were doing the one where the square footage increased by 25%.
23.
Okay, for me personally, can someone refresh my memory?
Yeah, that was 107-1-61. That, right? That increased 23%.
Correct.
What is your recommendation, Alan?
Well, what do you have the market value at?
311,805.
That's a market value?
That's the assessed value.
No, that's the market value, 311,805, 107-1-61.
It seems a bit light.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So
So if we correct the square footage, if we're off by 23%,
So the one that just sold, which is obviously a far bigger house, 107-1-64.2, it's got assessed village market value of 541.
yes,
And how many square feet was that, Alan?
2195.
Yeah,
I'm
so
sorry?
50, double the size,
Okay.
Chris. So it's certainly not going to be linear. The question is, should
Yeah.
it,
I can wrap my head easily around price per square foot. Everything else is
right.
fuzzy to me.
So maybe I didn't hear. Alan, did you make a suggestion?
I haven't made a suggestion. I was kind of seeing what John thought on that, because it's a tricky one given the absolute size, but you know it's way under
Mhm.
And the question is, what's a fair representation of that one? I mean, its next door neighbor, which sold at 200,000 more, had the same assessed value of 541, but there was a couple more on that street that sold. So we've
I'm
got
I'm
one,
looking at the sales, Alan, of,
15 yeah. The 1071-33, that was 1306 square feet, more land, but that's sold at 420 and it's at 356. A village market value. So it seems like there's, certainly some room there.
so if we're off by 23%, based upon, say, the 800 square feet, that's raising it another at least 200 square feet probably. So we're somewhere closer to 1,000 square feet, give or take.
Wasn't there another sale also?
There were 3 sales on Clubhouse.
Yeah,
So you had
There's 61 Clubhouse, but that's really an outlier. I don't know why that showing up as $100,000.
yeah.
And I double checked the papers we got from the county. That's what I was given.
well, we can make that one easy. It's not a third-party sale because it's a divorce situation and it was 2 homeowners transferred title to 1 homeowner. So that sale is a number, but it's not a third-party transaction.
Mhm.
So if we throw that out, there's 3 sales on that. We got the November for sale of 107-1-33, and then the December 28th sale of 107-1.65.2 and 64.2.
What were the prices there, Alan? I can't follow.
Let me do the 64.2 was 735, the 65.2 930, the 107-1-33 or 2,500. The most comparable is, the land different, but size wise is the 107-1-33.
We were just joined by a member of the public. Welcome.
The 107-1-33, I think you may have mentioned the parcel is much, much larger,
Yep.
but so that's not a good number to look at.
Well, I know the size is different, but the condition is very different also.
At this juncture, it is. Yes.
107-133.
Which is in better condition?
Well, right, because
Correct. 107-1-33. It's a nice home, but it needs some sprucing up, and it's safe and it's habitable.
at least, yeah.
It's pretty much in the condition of the property we're talking about 2 years ago. But the property we're talking about, 107-1-61, has been renovated.
Right.
Yeah, unfortunately, even though we have a couple sales on Clubhouse Road, none of them are terribly close. That's a tough one. There's very little property on that lot, on that parcel. And even though it's renovated, it's still a fairly large home. Oh, sorry, still a fairly small home, sorry.
So Trustee Shaw, what do you think?
Let me just,
What does your common sense tell you? regarding comps.
Yeah, I would compare the other comps on Clubhouse Road that sold and just figure out what. So we have 2 other sales that happened that at the end of the year. Their square footage is 2192, both of them.
Right.
But I think we
That's
can-
one for 900 and one for 7 something.
yeah, 930 and 735.
Mm-hmm.
And if we figure that out, maybe by
Yeah, let's do the math.
right? So the one we're talking about is with that.
Why
increase-
don't we just take an average and go 830 divided by 2,200?
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense.
yep.
Yeah. Although, I mean, there is a little bit of, yeah, but I guess.
Well,
that's-
we could do that first and then take those other things into account and see if we want to adjust it after we do just the raw square footage
So
comparison.
that gives you just $377 a square foot. And we're talking about 1,020 square feet. So multiply that by 1020, that gets you up to 384K, just the increased square footage.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
So-
three.
Are there other
311.
factors that we should consider? For example, you mentioned one of these properties needs some repair or something.
Well,
Not the,
the subject property has been renovated, new heating system, new electric, new windows.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think going from 311 to 384 really is probably not enough. I know
So
this doesn't have a lot of
do we do-
background to it, but I think we have to go to at least 475,
Mm-hmm.
given the renovations.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
So let's just do, John, if you did 475, then we're going 475 a square foot, basically.
Yes. Yeah. In renovated condition.
Right. That seems a pretty fair approach.
Fair, and I bet you it's still probably low. Being too kind.
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little low, the others are low.
Should we make it higher?
Well, how?
That's a pretty
We're heading
significant jump.
Somewhat
It is.
slippery slope here, I think, because remember what we're doing here is there's lots of inequities on lots of houses spread throughout Tuxedo Park. And all we're doing here is making adjustments based on a certain new data point that we have, which is an understatement of square footage. I'm a little, I'm a little hesitant about bringing on that data point, a house up to what we think is its current full market price.
Without being spot
Yeah,
assessing?
maybe if you said, okay, it's a 25% increase in square footage, you go up 25% in the price. I could see, in the assessment, I could see that, but having that understatement of square footage being the basis for bringing it up to, full market value is more of a reach in my mind.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Alan?
John, do you remember when the renovation was done, whether or not there was a change in assessment?
That was done in 2017. I don't remember if a change happened then. I'll see if I could quickly find out.
Yeah, I'm just trying to.
Let me see here. 1 second. Yes, there was an increase in the assessment between 2017 and 2018. The assessment went from 35,200 to 46,116.
Okay, so maybe we use Paul's logic is a 25% increase in square footage. And, you know, the question is, do we use the 384K per square foot? And use that?
Well, I think that square foot number is based on an average of the comp sales and therefore seems to be valid to me.
Yeah. I mean, my
So
gut,
you're saying that 200 extra square feet is worth 380, whatever that number was per square foot, not the whole 1,000 square feet.
correct.
Yeah. I
That-
mean,
that-
the logic flows.
Yes, and that's obviously what,
So what would that number be?
so,
Because what we should do is pick that number. And then Paul obviously has some hesitation, but we'll see how everyone else feels. We'll get through this. Alan, how many more do we have?
Yeah. No, that actually brings you pretty much to the same place. It's just increasing it by, 25% in terms of the square footage. It numbers, sometimes the numbers just all merge to the same.
right, but it shouldn't be a 25% increase on the current base number. It should be a 25% increase on basis
market.
current market and current sales. So it's 75% is not changing. It's the incremental 25% where there has been renovation and addition. That's the component that I would argue should only change.
I agree with that.
I'm nodding my head, but
So to me, it's between 75 and 100K increase in assessed value. That's what I'm coming up with.
John, in between 100 and 75, do you have a comfort level on there?
I think I would go the 100.
How's everyone else feel?
I agree.
I'm okay with 100. I mean, I think
Same.
Alan had a different approach to get to kind of the same number that John got, and I think that kind of makes it square.
Well said. Any others?
Then I think we need to, well, we've got, hang on, let me just find this one, which is one on Stable Road where we had we need to recognize it. Let me just find if it's the right number so I don't name a name. John, were you able to pull out the data with regard to generators so we could just agree on that one?
I did find that we increased the market value of at least 2 properties. Let me get them in front of me here. In 2019, there were no less than 2 generators installed, and we increased the assessed value or the market value by 100%. Well, one of them we increased 50% of the value. It involved a propane tank and a generator. So where the estimated cost of the project was $40,000, I believe we increased it $20,000. And on a smaller generator where the price was $7,735, we increased the value $7,500.
Okay.
That was in 2019.
So that's where we're going to follow. Now, going back over some of the accounts, I think we would then have to bring a couple in, right? Because, for example, John, we had that conversation
Yes,
about
we did.
the Tesla.
Yes.
Yes.
That needs to be brought back in, meaning increased.
Yeah, that was a $30,000 number, I believe.
Right.
But that
Hey.
was temporary storage, not for the car, that was for the house. I believe.
Correct. That's a generator.
Yeah.
Because the other two are new construction, they're not built yet.
I'm gonna recommend that phone number 212-207-3066, mute the microphone because we're getting some background noise.
So the next one we had was 107-1-62, which had a building permit of ballpark 34K, and it was all new windows and doors. So
Mhm.
to me, and you know, this is where we get into the discussion previously, is capital improvement versus maintenance. Maintenance is stripping your windows, painting them. All new windows and doors is a capital improvement. And then you, on this one, do you have, Tinka, do you have, I'm just seeing the town, but I've got a 386,748 Tuxedo Park market value. Do you have that, or is this data way old? This was 2020.
No,
While
that
you're
is,
looking.
that is the proper value for that parcel, Alan.
While you're looking, Alan, is it fair to say that, it's capital improvement from an accounting standpoint? Would that be
Correct.
clarification of that? Okay.
So the issue here is, and it ties into the one we just discussed, where lot size the same, the house is 1926 square feet. And this is just got, 386,748 on a market value. But, you got a 35K increase capital improvement. So, I mean, my personal opinion is that should be recognized.
Would we consider a driveway a capital improvement?
Well, a driveway, we've been consistent in the prior years and everything. We don't charge for that because that's access to your property and it's repair and maintenance.
Right. I guess just a question would be, I want to put in new windows because my existing windows are not that good or they're worn. And should I have an increase for that? And I'm not suggesting either way. But of course, you want to encourage people to make those improvements. But if it's a capital improvement from an accounting standpoint, then it's a legitimate discussion, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, remember, and I agree it's a capital improvement and there's a value associated with that, but what really determines the assessed value is what's the fair market value when you incorporate that capital improvement.
Right.
What if that capital improvement is $35,000, but because it's all new windows, that market value goes up to $60,000? We wouldn't want to shortchange ourselves, by assessing the property to where it should go, either above or beyond the cost of the construction.
Right.
Mhm.
And that's to John's earlier point with that one property where it was a material increase over and above.
Yeah, exactly.
That argument. So I think there's a precedent for that. It's just a question of what's an appropriate number there.
Yeah, and that's where I don't have the expertise or experience to assess the value of a house with brand new windows. But I don't know if Tinka or Alan or anybody else has kind of that kind of market knowledge.
I mean, what would you say, John, basis where the current market value is? We've got data points one street over where we've got 4 house sales, or three legit, one's non-third party, so we can't use that. And we've got square footage, lot size identical, square footage 70% larger, right? 50% larger, sorry. We just need to be consistent with the prior one we just discussed. That's
Right.
right.
I'm looking at.
Maybe we can get there the same way.
I'm looking at the sales around 2,000 square feet, and that's a tough one. That's
Well, I mean, you got the street next door, you've got two properties that one sold at 735, another at 930, right?
Um,
107-1-64.2 and 65.2. Acre, lot parcel nearly identical, square footage, plus or minus 10%.
mhm.
I would say probably the 107, 164.2 is the better comp.
Sorry, say the number again, Tinka, please.
The 107-1-64.2 is a better comp than the 931.
Yeah, I mean,
And
to
what
me,
was the sales price of 64? What was that sales price?
735. I think the 65.2 is an outlier. I don't know why, but I have a suspicion, but
Can we pull together a total of 2 comps for this
Yeah, well-
argument?
Well, those comps that they're talking about, if we use those numbers, we're nearly doubling the market value of the subject property that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And that,
that seems too steep to me.
it does. That's why I'm looking at it. I'm trying to be
Mm-hmm.
fair and also
Mhm.
looking forward, so our numbers are not as far off as they are now. This property has been owned by this property owner for probably over 25 years. So the assessment probably has not been adjusted or seriously reviewed in some time.
Mm-hmm.
The property is well maintained. I suspect this is probably the first permit they've ever pulled.
Well, then let's take a lighter footprint.
So I think a
And-
lighter footprint about it. I think if we raise it to, I think if we raise it to 550, it's still a pretty steep increase.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at other ones. I'm looking at 107-64.2. We just talked about those two. I'm just trying to look at other properties on that street, like 107-1-66. Little bit smaller, land comparable, and that's at 446.
And also make note of these comps we're discussing, for the grieving process. If it
But you know
occurs.
what, Alan? If you look at that, if you look at the parcel you just mentioned, lot 6-6,
Mhm.
lot 6-2 is on a dead end street. It's quiet. There's no traffic.
Okay.
So, the lot you just mentioned, lot 6-6 is, it's not a busy thoroughfare, but it's in the middle of the block.
So what would you think of a slight compromise of doing either like 490, something like that, where we're getting in the right direction? You don't want sticker shock, but you want to be fair and equitable.
Yes.
Would something like that, would that work for you, or would you be comfortable with that? Maybe I should restate that. I mean, I think we've certainly got supporting data given recent sales for our
Yes.
numbers.
Yes. No, I think I'd be comfortable at 490.
All right, I support John's recommendation of 490K for market value on this property.
I support you bringing it up to him and him agreeing. Yes, that would work for me.
Tinka?
And I don't object.
Okay. All right. Any others?
Well, we've got home sales and some recommendations John made, and I think we need I think one we can just forget about, which is the 107-1-60. That one, that's a non-third party sale, so we just ignore it. I'm not sure what it's taxed at right now, but that's a separate 6. Yeah. We certainly don't adjust down, and I don't think we have any basis to adjust up. It's just a non-third party sale.
Mhm.
So I think unless you can cite me rule and verse of how we can do anything apart from that, John, I don't think we can we?
What was that, Alan? I'm sorry. I was looking for. my
Sorry.
sheet.
Given it was a non-third party sale, we certainly don't need to reduce the assessment, but we have no basis to increase the assessment either, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so
As
that one,
is.
yeah, so that one we can rule out. So now, in my opinion, I'll give you my little blurb. Philosophically, I don't think we should automatically, just because a property sells, reduce the assessed value. I think, people have the right to go through the grieving process, the tax grievance day process, and they can come before the board and make their case for their argument. I don't think we should just summarily decrease things as a result of a specific sale. So I'm not in favor of just kind of going unilaterally, doing a brush across things and doing it that way. I would put the onus on the homeowner if they choose to come in front of the assessment review board and make their case basis that. So that's me philosophically. So I'm a little
Yeah. I think that, I think that makes sense. And it would be a substantial change on a lot of these, right? And, how would that, I think the grieving process is the appropriate venue for that. I agree with Alan on that.
Yeah, and I mean, we're fiduciaries, so our job is, one, to be fair and equitable, but two is to maintain the village's finances as well as possible. And giving something away we don't necessarily have to doesn't seem like that's a good fiduciary responsibility. So that's kind of where I'm echoing your comment, but
I also agree with that.
And I'll just add my comments. I agree. It's the homeowner. They have a fiduciary responsibility themselves, and we should be doing it for them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
So
how
that's,
about you, Tinka and Paul? How do you feel about this?
I agree.
Okay. All right. So we have consensus. We're not going to do that. All right. What else do we have?
I think we've got, John presented a couple to us that people had sent him requests. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
We've got a military exemption, which I believe you've just done in the past automatically, right, John? Or do you have to get board?
That is law.
Well, that was that was one of the items I was going to bring up. Outside of the building inspector's building permit report, there are some ministerial things you have to take care of. We do have one request for a military exemption. I really don't think it's entirely up to the Board of Assessors review, and it wasn't entirely up to me either in years past. It's a matter of law, and but I just want you to be aware of it.
Mhm.
So we just, in the past, you just do it automatically? And
It's kind of a rubber stamp,
Let's,
for lack of a better term.
As long as you recognize that, that's all. There's also one other issue. The franchise assessments and the telecommunications ceilings are set by the Office of Real Property. They have requested some changes. I believe I sent them to you back on January 13th. That's also something that really is above our responsibility. So with your authorization, I would make those changes for the tentative roll.
Right.
So authorized.
Yep. Agreed.
Um,
And I think you had one where somebody was asking for a reduction, and my view is,
Yeah.
we're going to, at the end of this meeting, we're going to determine a date for tax grievance day, and that's the venue where somebody should present.
Absolutely. 100% agree.
There was also one other piece of news that I had given the board back on January 13th, and it was a legal decision regarding faculty housing provided by a non-for-profit school. That's just for the board's information going forward if they feel that it's applicable.
Mhm.
Okay.
We actually got some advice by the attorney and we'll be following it.
That's fine.
Mhm. Now, do we have to go back and redo the Tesla thing? Or any other generators that were added that we missed?
I think the Tesla item is still open.
Yeah,
Yes,
we need to do something there to be consistent.
I thought you did.
Yeah,
We discussed it.
No, I thought you agreed to, oh,
We discussed doing it, but we haven't picked a number yet.
I thought you did.
Pardon me?
I thought you did. I thought you went with your,
John, I think, was discussing 2 examples from a prior year. And what he did in those cases.
All right, so just to summarize those, move this along
Yep.
perhaps, all right? So there was one case of last year, a generator that was under $10,000 and the assessment was increased by the full dollar amount of that generator. There's one case where there was a more substantial investment and the more substantial investment and the assessment was increased by roughly half of that.
Mm-hmm.
So where does this fall? Is it more in the half camp?
To me, this falls in the higher end category for half. But I'm open.
Agree with that. I mean, that's where I would come out on it.
I don't think we can make a judgment unless we know what charging stations, how they're historically adding value to a home.
Well, we also, though, have to be consistent with what we've done in the past.
And we're talking, have we ever added increased assessment for a Tesla charging station?
Well, that's a new technology and everything. So
Right.
the answer
So
to that is no.
So we're not consistent because we've never done it before.
Well,
So-
no.
There's an equivalence, though, because it's to generate electricity as a generator.
Yeah, as a generator, as
Yes,
something.
it acts as a generator.
Right. The answer,
And
we've done it. Sorry.
so, I mean, to me, it's no different than any other generator technology.
Okay. I think it's significantly different since it doesn't use an alternative fuel source. It uses your own house power. You're paying an electric bill for it. All it's doing is
I'm
changing
sorry,
the
could you
mode
repeat
of
that?
transmission.
I'm sorry, could you repeat it?
It's totally different because it's not introducing an alternative fuel source, right? Like, you had a whole house generator, you have to install a propane tank or a diesel tank. And I mean, it's just, they're night and day. One powers a house, one powers a car. All I'm saying is, if somebody's going to buy a house, 2 houses, everything's identical, one has a Tesla station, one doesn't, how much value does the Tesla charging station add to that other house?
Right, but wait a minute. We're not saying, I think there's confusion. Is this a Tesla charging station for a car, John?
No.
Or-
No,
No, it is not.
No, this is the
okay.
first. This is the first application of its kind that's been installed in the village. These are Tesla battery packs. I believe there's 2 of them, and they are charged by the line electricity. And if electricity goes out, there's a period of time which they will supply power to the house.
Okay.
I think Chris is right. There's no carbon footprint to speak of, with the exception of when they may become obsolete. But if you wanted more reliable 24/7 generator backup, you'd get a typical generator. These batteries will only last a certain amount of time.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So
That's true. So that would lean towards going back down to the 20% area or something in between.
Well, the interesting thing is I'd say for a regular generator, just to be consistent, we do 100%. For this, given this is only partial, I do 50 cents on the dollar on this because it's totally different.
So we
the
both came to 50 cents on the dollar, but from different points. So that's interesting.
Yeah, which is actually good.
Right. What do you think, Paul?
Well, as I said a couple of minutes ago, I'm at 50 cents on the dollar. I think this is a good basis for doing this at 15,000. It's a lot like the propane and larger generator installation.
Ms. Shaw,
Works for me.
what do you think?
You know, I,
Oh, you said works for me. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay. So, we agree.
So what
It's
is the
going to
number?
be 50 cents on the dollar, John.
15K.
15K. All right,
Yep.
just to let you know, not that this should influence your decision, but at 15,000, it's about $145 in tax revenue. So
Well, we have to be consistent.
you're right.
Most of the trustees recognize we get paid at less than minimum wage.
Yeah. All right. So let me know if there's any more.
There's one item which I took a little liberty to, I think, the beginning of this past summer. There's a house on Tuxedo Lake, which they requested it's not a short staircase, maybe it's 7 or 8 risers to get to the top part of a balcony on their boathouse. I thought it would be rather cumbersome and complicated. If I sent it to the Board of Architecture review, it is just a staircase. All the materials were to match what was there. And then also there was a further complication that if I recognize the application formally, there may be reason for me to send them to the Board of Zoning Appeals, because any construction activity within 100 feet of the lake requires a BZA variance. All of that I thought was quite cumbersome for probably a 7 or 8 riser staircase to get to an existing balcony on a boathouse, which has existed for probably over 75 years. So I really don't think it added markedly, to the property. They did redo the balcony and some of the spindles while they were there. And I just want to bring that to the board's attention.
Thank you. Were there handrails before?
Yes, there were.
And was there a stairway or a ladder or?
No, there was nothing on the outside of the structure. I was told at one point there may have been something on the inside, but the boathouse was renovated probably close to 10 years ago, and there was no evidence of anything inside.
Right. Okay. Thank you for letting us know. Anything else? So the next step would be for Paul to tell us, confirm he's got a marked up list of everything that we discussed.
Okay.
And if he does, we can accept it. Once it's cleaned, we'll accept it. And with the caveat, it's going to be updated, and then we'll post it. We can take those votes, and unless someone else has another suggestion.
I have one other item I think that I still have listed as open
Okay.
from last week, and that is property 106-145. About 6 items down in our list here. And
So how much was increased the prior year?
right. So there's a question about whether
Was that 106, 145 or 25?
45.
45.
Yeah. For some reason, I thought we increased it last year, John.
I'm going to take a look, bear with me. Last year, the assessed value was increased from, actually, I'm sorry, from 2018 to 2019, it changed from 139,860 to 143,575.
So it increased 4K times 14,000, right? 16,000? Is that right? Ballpark?
Yes.
So we jumped at ballpark, and this is a real rough and dirty, we jumped at around 60 to 65K order magnitude. And where are they percent completion? Is there still a work in progress?
I think I had reported they're approximately 95%. They're finishing the carport. The majority of the landscaping is done. Some of it may roll over into next spring for obvious reasons, or this upcoming spring. Hold on. Yeah, I had placed there 95%. Let me look at the current market value, because this project has been going on for quite some time. It also included a full renovation of the house. Current market values are 970, 757. And let's look at the sales prices, because this number could be.
Yeah, you got a house.
We should try to correct anything at this point, because a lot has happened there over a long period of time.
Sold for what, 990, 9 something, 9.
Hold on.
Where is it?
On the 106, 125.
Yeah,
Yeah, they bought it for, I think, 525. In
sorry,
2017.
no, I'm looking at, where is it? Hang on, sorry.
Did you find the sales price, Tinka? 106, 145?
Are we doing 145 or 125?
I believe you were talking about 106-1-45.
Okay, let me see what it
Is
is.
that correct, Paul?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, I have the sales price at 850. May 2016.
So to me, the comps on there on recent sales are 106-1-80. Nearly identical acreage, square footage is a slightly smaller house. And then obviously you've got 989, which is 106-1-44, which is, yeah, nearly identical, isn't it? I mean, the acreage is less, but what's the square footage on this house?
She had a fabulous baby.
I see it as 8226.
Right,
That's right. It's a big house.
it's
Yeah.
a big house. And does that include the conversion of the old garages? Or it wasn't old garages? No.
No,
Never-
they enlarged the kitchen. That number probably does not include the kitchen.
Okay. So I mean, the only one that, you could argue whether you nudge it up a bit more in light of 106-1-80, that sale.
What do you recommend, Alan?
My gut says it's a little bit light, but not that much, maybe 50, 75, when you're looking at comparable sales and the amount of work that's been done.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm also afraid the location isn't ideal either, but it also does have a 2-car garage.
Right.
Not convenient, but it has it.
And you've got they've increased the footprint of the house. So I don't know how you factor in a carport, because I'm not sure that's open air. So that's like a porte cochere. I'm not sure that.
There's a carport, and there's also, as part of that structure, There's also going to be an enclosed area off the kitchen door. If you picture a hammerhead shark and you're looking down on top of it, that's what it would look like from the sky. One side is a carport and the other side is some sort of enclosure off the kitchen door.
Okay.
But John, you'd have to confirm my observations because
No, your observations are correct, but what I'm also thinking about is, you know, the inside has been renovated as far as the infrastructure, if you want to talk about capital improvements.
yeah, fully gutted, right?
Well, and you know, the house did not have air conditioning before, it has air conditioning now. Some people would say the addition of the portico chair really takes away from the structure because previously, you know, they had a nice flat circular driveway in the rear of the house. Now they don't, but it was their preference. Honestly, given the size of the house, the current condition of the house, and sales of homes over the last 12 months, I'd say nothing less than 1.2 million.
To bump it by 200 or 230.
You know, it's essentially a new home, and
Yeah, and I mean, you've got, the sales data reinforces everything you're saying, John.
no, I see, and I've been there obviously. So.
Do you want to take it up to 1.2 million? Fair market value?
I would recommend it. It's up to the board, and obviously the applicant or the property owner can agree.
I support John's recommendation on that one.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, it still looks like a deal.
Yeah.
I am actually going to recuse myself because we're having a disputed matter over an invoice. So I'm not going to vote on this.
Okay.
So that said, we need, we have John, we need to hear from Paul and Tinka.
So I think here we are again, back to this question of, you know, trying to correct inequities based on comparative values through the mechanism of the happenstance of having a building permit in front of us and increasing, you know, the assessed value based on amounts that are, you know, substantially in excess of the building permit. And I think that's a little, you know, it's a little problematic. So I'd be inclined not to go up that much.
So
If I can just add, I actually, you know, did some research this weekend. I talked to a municipal tax assessor today who confirmed with me that he uses construction costs barely. It's all based on full market value. And when you have, and he uses a three-prong approach, and construction cost is one of them, knowing that they're always low, that it really comes back to full market value. And I think based on what he educated me today about and what we're doing right now is 100% in line with what certified professional tax assessors are doing, without the benefit of a public hearing or a public meeting for everybody to hear how we're making the sausage.
Thank you for that input.
Tinka?
So based on your discussions, then you feel comfortable with a 1.2?
I do.
Okay, so do we have any others?
Yeah.
Any other open items?
Oh, sorry. So we're agreeing to John's recommendation is what we had 3 votes. So we'll move forward. Agreed?
Yes.
That's my understanding.
Increase, I'm sorry, what's the increase on,
1.2.
no, that's the total value. What's the increase? Because we have the sheet here in terms of increases.
Sorry, you want the delta?
Yes,
230.
thank you.
Sorry, because John, you said it was 970, right?
Yeah, the exact delta is 229, 243.
that what you want to use?
Okay, so any other open items?
I think Chris said he wanted to go back to 106, 114.
Sorry, whereabouts that on the page, 106, 140?
We actually don't have to, you know, I originally objected, but I looked at the tax data. I'm okay with it.
Okay.
All right, so what I was saying earlier was that, you know, we could pass a resolution now accepting the list as modified by Paul. And then we have other resolutions to make for approving the posting of it and making it public. And then we need to set grievance day before we adjourn. So I'm not making the resolution now. I'm just reading out loud to approve the 2021-2022 tentative assessment role incorporating the information presented at the meeting today to be approved as the 2021-2022 tentative assessment role. So, I mean, I think that covers it, right?
I think it does, David. What I need possibly, if you would give Paul and I permission just to review the list, maybe tomorrow morning to confirm that we're both in alignment through nobody's fault, just the fact that it's become a large process. I
Sure.
need to get these changes documented by tomorrow, if at all possible, because I need to have the tentative role and the change of assessment notices, you know, printed and prepared by Friday. Because they should be available Monday morning. So the only thing.
Okay, so we would say information presented at the meeting today and approved by Paul and by you.
Yes.
Is that all right with everybody?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, resolve to approve the 2021-2022 tentative assessment role, incorporating the information presented at the meeting today and verified by Paul Gluck and John Ledwith, approving, if verified, then we have approved the 2021-2022 tentative assessment role. Can I have a second?
Second, and then comment, because I think you
Please.
should incorporate the June 20th assessment review date too, because we agreed to certain changes there. And then we haven't gone back and talked about ones we already agreed to.
Oh, okay, good point. Today and what was the date? That was the 20th?
Yeah.
Including the meeting today and including changes made at the Board of Assessors meeting on January 20th. I'll
Yes.
add that to the resolution. May I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? So we're good to go? All
David,
yeses, please.
David, the only thing I need when I print out the change of assessment notices, I have to put down the date and the time that we're meeting on that date. I think it was included in your agenda. Did you agree to that previously?
I have, we're approving the tentative assessment role.
Yep, that's fine.
Then the approval to post it. And
Well,
then I
that'll be-
have setting
that'll be-
grievance day.
Yeah, we just have to set grievance day, which historically has been the third Tuesday in February. The board
All
has,
right.
the board
So
has to,
let me get a vote. Let me get a vote on this first one. Yeses?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Yeses have it. Any noes? Okay. So now I'm going to read a resolution to post the assessment role to the website. And there's a date that we can't, we have to comply with. And so this gives permission to make that posting in a timely manner and also making it available at the village office. So to post the 2021-2022 final assessment role to the website and available at the village office. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Okay, thank you. And then grievance date. John, you just mentioned a certain date,
February 16th.
the
February
16th.
16th.
Is that what we want to do again?
That is apparently the last date that legally the board can sit, and that's the date that we normally, or the board does sit to hear people's grievances. I
Mhm.
understand you have to sit for a total of 4 hours. The time frame can be separated. You could do 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the evening,
Mhm,
all 4 hours together as we've typically done.
mhm. And what is the consensus of the board?
Rip the Band-Aid, do it from 5 to 9, because the benefit there is if audience is not there, then we can go into executive session to discuss some of the grievances so we can
Right,
address.
we can move it along as we're going.
Yeah.
What about 4 to 8?
Fine by me.
People that are here will probably come in, during work hours, and those that aren't will be here up to the 8 o'clock time. Do we think 8 o'clock's late enough?
I'm just trying to, John, is the 5 to 9 p.m. set by code or something? I thought there was a reason we had to do it.
No, it actually, there's more flexibility than I think we previously thought.
Mhm.
Based
I
on
think
what
there's
we-
a lot of flexibility this year because it's going to be on a Zoom meeting, so I don't
Yeah,
think
and
we
there's
have
the
to have
COVID
it.
thing, yeah.
No.
So, all right, so tell me again what the date is.
February 16th, 2021,
16, what day is that?
Tuesday.
Tuesday, Feb 16. Okay, and what times do you want to do?
I personally like your idea of 4 to 8,
Mhm.
but
How's
that's
everyone else feel?
I'm good with 4 to 8.
Good with me.
Okay. All right. Resolve to schedule grievance day on Tuesday, February 16th from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. May I have a second, please?
second.
A vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Okay, terrific. Now, before we adjourn, is there anything that we are forgetting?
One other item, Mayor,
Mhm.
not forgotten, but Elizabeth should be preparing oaths of office, or not oaths of office, I'm sorry, oaths relating to the assessment roll, which have to be, or at least historically had to be notarized and go along with the roll. So she's aware of that, but that means we all have to cooperate and get these things, signed and left with John.
So in order to post, we have to do that step.
Right.
And that's going to be done at the village office. Are we signing something?
Yes,
And is it an oath?
yes.
So it can be done by Zoom, and then we'll have to do an electronic signature scan if we're not available in town.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. So that's tidying up some business. Elizabeth, do you have any questions about that?
Yes, but I'll ask Debbie
Okay. Or give Paul a call after the
or
meeting.
Paul. Okay.
All right. Anything else before we adjourn? I just don't want to forget anything.
I think we got everything in this.
Okay. All right. I resolve to adjourn this meeting. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Thank you, everyone. Good meeting.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Bye.